What's up, fellas? It's your main man. Back on the scene with another video. How cool would it have been if this crossover, this matchup, actually happened? When I saw Underworld Awakening, I thought that was like a perfect setup for Blade to be added into an Underworld franchise.
In the 9 days since the first discovery of the non-human species, scores of so-called covens have been uncovered. The estimates of the number of infected have skyrocketed.
Military sources confirm that the primary measures of defense against the non-humans are based on ultraviolet light and silver, to which the infected appear to have fatal sensitivity.
I mean, the world finds out that vampires are real, and we have an actual vampire hunter on the scene. Come on. That would have been like a straight up money printer. Only thing is, something I didn't like about Blade was that the vampires died so easily. Like, you just hit them with silver and they just blew up. Whereas in the Underworld franchise, the werewolves were sensitive to, or lichens were sensitive to silver, and the vampires were sensitive to daylight or those ultraviolet bullets they had. But they died slow. They didn't just poof, gone. That's the one thing that I didn't like about the Blade franchise. But this would have been a cool ass matchup, man. They team up to try to get the world back straight. Come on. So I did a search on it, and at one time there were people, or I guess in the Underworld camp, because Kate Beckinsale wanted to do it. They wanted to hook up. So I did a search, and this is I think the best article that really lays it down. So let's check it out. Why the Underworld Blade crossover never happened. Let's skip the summary. I don't care about that. Ever since Count Dracula took his place among the pantheon of Hollywood horror icons, vampires have been portrayed not just as bloodthirsty demons, but as sexy supernatural creatures who have generally been misunderstood. While Twilight might have been the most famous modern example of this, it's not the only one. The Underworld franchise, for example, which is headlined by Kate Beckinsale, I would have thought Underworld would have been more popular, or maybe it's just that I like it more. Takes its own approach to vampire legend, combining them with werewolves called lichens to develop a more well-rounded monster mythology. And that was just getting started. A few years before Underworld got big, Wesley Snipes starred in Blade, a live-action adaptation of Marvel Comics character who first appeared in the Tomb of Dracula comic book series. From there, the character became a fan favorite, eventually leading to his own 1998 feature film. The success of the first inspired a trilogy. The second installment, Blade, which was directed by Guillermo del Toro, and generated talks of a potential crossover with the vampires of Underworld. But as far as we know, talk is all that came of it. That's a damn shame, man. By 2006, the Blade franchise had gone stale. The 2000 Blade sequel did even better at the box office than the first, prompting a quick turnaround for a third installment, which came out only 2 years later. That sucked. The final film, Blade Trinity, should have been Blade Shitty, was written and directed by David S. Goyer, the screenwriter behind the first two installments and a future co-writer of Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight trilogy, though it mostly received negative reviews. Yeah, I only watched that movie one time. That's it. I've never watched it again. I have like zero desire to watch that movie. I mean, it was like a crime that they made it. Dick succeeded in uniting Snipes, Blade himself as a half vampire, with his arch nemesis, Dracula, played by Prison Break star Dominic Purcell, on the big screen, which was sort of exciting. Not really. It was. That movie was just ass, and thus ended Snipes' tenure as Blade and the franchise's feature film potential. But Marvel wasn't completely done with Blade yet. 2 years after Trinity was released, Gloria, the TV show, that sucked. So Jeff, get past that. Just a year after Blade 2 came out, another vampire-themed dark fantasy flick premiered, titled Underworld. And the series was helmed by director Len Wiseman, screenwriter Danny McBride, and actor-writer Kevin Gervais. Man, don't be trying to whoop my ass because I said your name wrong. Who together broke the story for the first film. From there, Underworld Evolution premiered in 2006, and the next traditional sequel titled Underworld Awakening wouldn't be released until 2011. With a number of years between each installment, the series began to lose steam. Yeah, they took too long to bring out the second flick. And it was okay. It lost a lot of the steam that the first one had. Between Evolution and Awakening, a prequel titled Underworld Rise of the Lycans was released. That was too short. I liked the movie, but it was too short. I thought it's like they rushed it. It was released telling the story of Michael Sheen's Lucian, the Lycan antagonist of the first film. The final installment, Underworld Blood Wars, came out in 2016 and is so far the final addition to the greater franchise. I don't think I saw that one. I've never watched it. Matter of fact, I didn't even know it came out. In the meanwhile, the film spawned blah, 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 blah. Let's skip that. This is like the original Blade series. Underworld ended with some real loose ends. And this is the good part. In the same breath, Beckinsale noted that her dream Underworld project will be a mashup with Blade. So the woman was the smartest one, and the men were dumb. Where she and Wesley Snipes would reprise their infamous supernatural heroes to battle the forces of darkness side by side. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. That would have been cool as hell, though. What a duel that would be, she expressed. Of course, the idea of an Underworld Blade crossover isn't exactly news. In fact, Beckinsale revealed that the Underworld producers have had previous discussions with Marvel Studios about a crossover at a 2016 New York City Comic-Con. I went to that. Damn, I missed that, huh? Must have been on it. They must have did that on a day that I wasn't there. Probably like a day before I got there. While promoting Blood Wars, we had that idea, she had told an excited fan. Marvel said no, they were doing something with Blade. Yeah, Marvel is dumb. Kevin Feige, you are dumb. Just dumb. Tragically, that's all we knew about a potential crossover for a long time. But that's not all we learned about the fate of Snipes' Blade. According to IGN in 2015, Marvel was in talks with Snipes to reprise his role as Blade. With the right team, yes, I'd do another one, Snipes revealed at that year's San Diego Comic. I got to get to that, San Diego Comic Con. But don't get me wrong, I'm not waiting around for the opportunity. I've got plenty to do, plus an unraveled character in the works who I think will give Blade a hell of a run for his money. Sadly, it wasn't to be. Marvel Studios buying Blade's rights back changed everything. Though New Line Cinema produced the Blade movies, the rights to the Blade character officially reverted to Marvel Studios in 2012, giving producer Kevin "Dummy" Feige and his Marvel creatives free reign with the Vampire Hunter. It was under Feige's direction that Snipes was initially in talks to return to his most iconic character, but nothing ever came of it. Instead, the studio decided to reboot the character with Mahershala Ali, set to star in the titular role. That was a terrible idea.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Idea. Terrible. If you were going to reboot it, it's not, and I keep saying this, they should have got somebody in his 20s, a real martial artist, to take his role. Somebody with some swag. You know, you'd have to find somebody that's swag on the level of Wesley. And Mahershala, he's cool. I like him, but he doesn't have that. Wesley had more of that New York City swagger. Mahershala, he just like street swagger. Mahershala does not have that. That's what made Blade cool. The film, which will be simply titled Blade, is currently set for a theatrical release on, well, this is an old article, on November 7, 2025. As we know, that never happened. After years of development hell, but that doesn't mean this new Blade hasn't made its mark on the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I'm not going to read that. Read the rest of that. Blade isn't the only crossover that Underworld franchise attempted. Strangely, Blade isn't the only dark fantasy series that Underworld attempted to cross over with over the years. The one and done I, Frankenstein, which starred Aaron Eckhart as the titular monster named Adam in the film, was based upon a digital graphic novel by Underworld co-creator Kevin Gervais, who desired to see these two stories unite. Man, you guys are dumb. Dumb. The end of the credit scenes, who desired to see the two stories unite, he was in that. So was the guy that played Victor. What's his name? Bill Nye, whatever his name is. In an exclusive interview with I Am Road, Kevin revealed a planned crossover scene at the end of the movie. The end credits scenes that Marvel Studio does with their movies. I actually had one with Adam and Selene, but they didn't do it. Dumb. I mean, like, these people that are in control of these franchises, like, they are so dumb. It's insane. Tragically, all of his Underworld Easter eggs were removed from the final script, and thus I, Frankenstein, became a completely standalone story. It's really too bad, though, since it's particularly easy to picture Selene and Adam battling supernatural forces side by side. Additionally, a crossover with Resident Evil was long rumored. Nothing materialized, but all of the dark fantasy flicks of the 2000s that should have crossed over with Underworld should have been the Hugh Jackman-led Van Helsing. And that would have been cool. Man, there's so much cool stuff they could have done that they just dropped the ball on it, man. You guys are just not smart, man. Not smart at all. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think. I mean, you think this would have been cool? Matter of fact, I thought all the matchups they mentioned would have been cool. Drop a comment below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you brothers in the next video.